Hey guys, welcome back. So now we're jumping back into Avengers with the Death Hunters Part 1, which is one of the stories that picks up from the chaos of Avengers issue 750, but in this one we'll also talk about how issue 750 also branches off into Avengers Forever, because the multiversal masters of evil are going crazy in both stories. But we're going to start off with the Death Hunters. So if you're new to the channel, be sure to subscribe to catch the spills every week, and don't forget to hit that bell up top so we can squat up in the comments for the first hour. Alright, so starting this off, we're gonna go back to issue 750, just moments before the multiversal Masters of Evil arrived on Earth 616, because it's here where we find Black Panther, Captain Marvel, Captain America, Iron Man, and Robbie Reyes Ghost Rider having a meeting that's mainly centered around the Avengers just being a mess right now, with so much that has happened recently that has left them short-handed. And mind you, since issue 1, the Avengers have been going through it, back to back to back, with Dark Celestials, the War of Realms, both Heroes Reborn and Heroes Return. They were fighting Namor for a while, along with the Defenders of the Deep. The Winter Guard came back, which, still. But they came back with Red Widow and 2 gods added to the team, with Perrin and Chernobog, who have been gone since Jason Aaron's God of Thunder. But then on top of that, you had the vampire thing that was going on for a while, and then, and everybody had the Phoenix Force. And aside from that, I'm sure I'm leaving out some stuff too. Because on top of the Avengers dealing with all this, you also had the individual heroes dealing with their own issues within their own arcs. And for the most part, during the course of this meeting, this is why they're talking about bringing in some fresh blood. Because at this point, they're coming fresh out of World War She-Hulk, which was something within itself that on the bright side led to the return of your traditional Jennifer Walters. But with her going back to her normal She-Hulk self, she immediately requested time away from the Avengers, which is something that we'll catch up on in another video. But aside from She-Hulk, these guys are a few people short. Like for example, you got Blade, who had recently joined the Avengers prior to this point, only for him then to have to leave and be sheriff of Vampire Nation. And then on top of that, you also got Thor, who had went back to Asgard for a while after going in to back up Jennifer Walters towards the conclusion of World War She-Hulk. But within this very meeting, there are a couple things that happened that really just split this story in half. And when I say split it in half, I mean part of it goes right into the Avengers Forever series, while the other part continues into the Death Hunters Part 1. Because during this meeting where we get to Robbie Reyes, and he tells everyone here what needs to happen in the event that he's killed, like we talked about in the last video, with him seeing the Avengers 1 million BC being hunted down but in an alternate universe. But also when he had seen this, it was a first person view through the Ghost Rider of that universe, so it really had him shook because how real it seemed. But on one hand, this took us to a conversation between Robbie and T'Challa, where Robbie gave T'Challa more of the details on these different dreams, with him seeing a number of Ghost Riders dying, all of them cavemen. And they weren't dying alone, but they had other Black Panthers, Odins, and others as well. But in the middle of them having this conversation, Namor then shows up, which initially comes off as hostile, because very recently the situation was very hostile, which we'll talk more about when we get into She-Hulk. But for the time being, recently Namor owed She-Hulk a favor, and for that favor, she asked that he would make amends with the Avengers, which is pretty much why he's here. And as a token of sincerity, he brings a deathlock that he had found sulking around Atlantis. It's like the perfect gift. But as soon as Namor pulls this guy out the water, he says Nexus Point reached, scanning for Avengers. Then he says alert, Omni-Avenger found, as it detects that multiversal vengeance is happening. And it's right there where Robbie and this Deathlock shoot up in flames and beam out of here over to Earth 818. And for the two of them, this is where their story branches off into Avengers Forever, with Earth 818 being the location of the most recent Ghost Rider death that Robbie had seen. But we'll jump back into that when we get into Avengers Forever. Because with going into the Death Hunters Part 1, it's here where we follow Tony from the meeting, with him telling the others that he would go and check on Thor over in Asgard, where Tony says even the air tastes like beer. But at this time for Thor, he's dealing with a lot, because for Thor, it's still the build-up leading to God of Hammers, with this taking place after Devour King, and I believe just after Prey. So for Thor, we know he's going through quite a bit of the family issues at this moment, with the mystery of whether or not the Phoenix is actually his mother being one of the biggest issues at the moment. But of course, with us looking back at a lot of this, we already got our answer to that mystery during God of Hammers, when we were given the answer that Gaia is still Thor's mother. But back at this time, Jason Aaron was doing something different, and the mystery was up in the air. And that's where a lot of Thor's frustration lies at this moment, with him recently trying to reach out to Gaia and her not responding, and Thor wanting answers with him feeling fire in his veins, which in itself is something confusing, with Thor trying to figure out who his actual birth mother is. But also at this time with him talking to Tony, Thor lets Tony know that he's been reading the Tome of Kings, which, like we talked about before, was a book written from all the kings of Asgard where they talk about events that had either passed or some cases were yet to come. But for Thor, throughout all his searching throughout this book, he hadn't found anything about a prehistoric phoenix avatar being his mother. And it's frustrating again for him at this time because he's not getting a clear answer. But with Tony coming here and being a friend, he makes a suggestion that Thor talks with Echo, the current avatar of the Phoenix. But Thor quickly rejects this suggestion because he doesn't want anything to do with the Phoenix, which is kind of counterintuitive to him getting an answer, but it's how the big guy feels. But while they're having this conversation, we then also find that Echo has made her way to Asgard, but Sif won't let her go any further than the Rainbow Bridge, even with Echo insisting that her and Thor talk, with both her and Thor having a lot that they're dealing with individually, and Echo truly believing that the two of them can work this out. But again, with Sif not letting her pass, this isn't personal against Echo. Sif has no problem with Maya Lopez, but the issue is with the Phoenix and Thor not wanting the Phoenix in Asgard, let alone anywhere near him. But this conversation starts to get a bit spicy when Echo goes Phoenix and insists that she's gotta make her way in, but then strangely enough, right in the middle of this, Sif freezes and another voice speaks to Echo telling her she doesn't know the first rule of the Firebird, which right away lets us know something weird's going on. And on top of this, Tony and Thor, they know something's going on too, because for them, Asgard just suddenly gets silent, and Thor knows already that the minds of the gods themselves have been paralyzed. But the question is, why not them? And it's here where another Deathlock shows up, telling the two of them that they haven't been affected because his shields are protecting them. And on top of that, he lets them know that he's come here to warn them, to warn the Avengers from across the Megaverse, from the Watchtower at Infinity's End. And it's right there with 3 clauses go through this guy's chest, because the Dark Phoenix, her Berserker, and King Killmonger have made their way to Asgard. And when these guys show up here, it's not long after we had just seen them at Avengers Mountain with Doom, but from the time that Doom initially assembled this team up until now, it's been quite a while, and these guys have gotten a lot of experience killing Avengers. But on top of their multiversal mission, they're also familiar with your modern day versions of a lot of the heroes because of the history in their home worlds. But initially when these guys show up, both Tony and Thor, they think these guys are actually their 616 counterparts. And like in the case of King Killmonger, they really don't know who he is until he says what he is and takes his mask off, or better yet shows his face through his destroyer armor. But I gotta say, with seeing this King Killmonger, and really a lot of these guys from the Masters of Evil, I really hope that we get some origin issues at some point, which I'm kind of thinking that we will. Don't quote me on that, but the main reason that I'm thinking that we will is because we got a lot of that for the Avengers 1 million BC, and on top of that, we got all the origins for the members of the Squadron Supreme that were more or less remade for the members of Mephisto's Justice League. So fingers crossed we get some one-shots for all these guys too, because I want to see the story of this King Killmonger who took over Wakanda and Asgard, as well as built this armor. And while they're at it, go ahead and sprinkle in a bit of a backstory on the Stormslayer axe, because I want to see all of it. But again, when these guys show up, Tony, he's thinking that these are like the 616 guys, because Tony's asking Killmonger, since when did you mix Asgardian and Wakandan tech? And when he sees this Wolverine, which is the Phoenix's Berserker, right away Tony's like, what they do to your eyes, man? Because they really don't know what's going on in the bigger picture. But really quickly here, when more Deathlocks start showing up, Echo eventually makes her way in when she hears all the commotion and where it's coming from, since the rest of Asgard is just bone quiet. But during this time, with a number of Deathlocks who are just showing up, they're trying to fill in Tony and Thor on what's going on. Because like we'd seen when the Masters of Evil just arrived in Earth 616, they came here to hunt down Deathlocks before they can tell the Avengers what exactly these guys were up to. But real quickly, like one at a time, they try to tell these guys what's going on, as far as who the multiversal Masters of Evil are and why they're here. But when one starts talking, they get destroyed. And as soon as that one's taken out, another one picks up where the last one left off. And this continues all the way until they're down to like just 2 of these Deathlocks left, who finally get the message out about the Doom above all, the Council of Red, and the Masters of Evil going back in time and killing the first Avengers. But then it's here where Thor believes that he's knocked out the Dark Phoenix, to where then he turns around and tells Echo that she's next, and he lets Echo know that she's more or less gotta go. But then this Dark Phoenix comes back and she hits Thor, and Thor just goes flying. But this Dark Phoenix, she then goes to Echo, who, by the way, this whole time, this Dark Phoenix has been taunting Echo, telling her that the 616 Phoenix had to be desperate, which also has me thinking, by the way, like I thought there was only one Phoenix throughout the multiverse, but we're just rolling with it. But this Dark Phoenix lets Echo know that the Phoenix here in the 616 had to have been desperate to choose Echo, an avatar whose power is really just to mimic others. But when she says this then makes Echo think about recently back at Avengers Mountain when she was training and trying to perfect her skills as an avatar for the Phoenix. And at the time, T'Challa had given her access to information of the short list of people with the power to kill a Phoenix. And it was for that reason that Echo learned to combat Owen Reese, the Molecule Man, Thanos, Galactus, the Living Tribunal, the Beyonders, Wanda Maximoff, Odin Borson, and Thor as well. And for Echo, with her recalling this, she then uses this training to her advantage, and she takes the fight to this Dark Phoenix. But then in addition to that, Echo also tries to free the Berserker Wolverine, but she has no success in her attempt, because with what's left of this guy, he's only a shell of who he was. But just after this, the Dark Phoenix, she then just kills the last of the Deathlocks that are here. Like, she just incinerates these guys. Which again, at this point, this is the only mission of the Masters of Evil at this time in the 616, with them only wanting to get rid of all the Deathlocks. And the only reason that it's just that, just killing Deathlocks, for now, is because of the agreement between Doom and Mephisto. But then just after this, Dark Phoenix pulls another trick out of her bag. And it's here where she brings out her Berserker Thor, with her saying that the Thunderer and the Phoenix can indeed be one happy family. And I don't know what she's thinking, but that Thor don't look too happy to me. And so now real quick, I want to give a special shout out to all the patrons. Thank you guys for all of your support. And for anyone who's new here who wants more information on how to support the channel, I got a link below so you can go to patreon.com/dopespill. But that'll do it for this one, guys. Let me know your thoughts down in the comments below, and we'll do it again on the next one. Alright, later.